that's okay. Then I can send you a copy of the recording, share screen. There we go. It's a good job I put that picture up because I would always forget. So reminder, if anybody hasn't been here before, every Wednesday, 45 minutes, 20 minutes or so, maybe 15, 20 minutes or so input from me, or indeed, if anybody else wants to take over that slot, feel free to do so. The rest of it's about Q&A, either Q&A about what we've talked about or about anything else that happens to arise in your head around, ideally around the idea of winning assignments. Anybody who wants to come along can come along. Invite anybody you think might be interested. And if you come along, it's brilliant if you get involved in the discussion. Why am I doing them? Because I think there's a bunch of collective wisdom out there. There are loads of different perspectives on the same challenges, and the more perspectives we understand, the more likely we are to have insights into different way forwards for us. Potential opportunity, obviously, for people to collaborate with each other, but ultimately, what I would love is for people to go away with new ideas or insights into themselves and how they go about winning work. So again, if you haven't been before, what do I mean by independent executives? I got a little bit fed up with theoretical and rather pointless discussions about what's the difference between a consultant and an interim manager and a freelancer and a contractor and all that sort of stuff. And these discussions seem to rage on forever with no point. So I thought I'll get out of that discussion and create a completely new one called independent executive, which seemed a bit arse about face. But what I'm saying is, we've chosen to become independent, and that means not full-time, not to have a full-time job. And as an independent, we may at sometimes work with our clients who may not understand that they have a problem, and we may help them to understand the problem they face. They may have a problem, and our job may be to help them analyze what's causing the problem or what's stopping them take advantage of that opportunity. It may be that we meet them when they've already understood clearly what the problem is and why it is, and they need some kind of solution to built to address it. It may be that they've got one and they want somebody to implement it. It may be they've implemented, but they need it embedding and improving. So traditionally, interims could fit here, here, here. Traditionally, the consultants probably would fit here and here. And what I'm saying is most people choose to go into this and they choose what sort of work they'd like to do. So some really enjoy the cerebral part of it. Some want to roll their hands up and get involved in the implementation. Some like taking over a role that's temporary vacant and fitting it in. And some people like doing any or all of those. So if you look at the Institute of Interim Management survey, 2,500 people responded, who I guess would call themselves interim managers. At least 60% said they'd done consulting assignments in the last year. So hence the term independent executive. You help the client where the client needs help. So so today, if I look at this as a sort of, I do like a 3-month program for people to accelerate them into this new career or repair one that's not working. So today's fits firmly in this top one. We obviously have some preparation around why are we doing it, what's our vision for ourselves, and what are we offering. We then have some marketing around reaching out, networking, creating demand and interest, and then we get into the selling part, which is about putting proposals together and closing them. Ultimately, what I want is for people to be very comfortable winning the type of work they want, when they want, at the rates they want. So this bit fits into that section today. It's in the how do I feel about this. I don't know if any of you have read Andre Agassi's book about his autobiography. For those who haven't come across him, there's some of the youngsters or the younger ones yesterday said I have no idea who you're talking about when I mentioned it, which is slightly concerning for me. But Andre Agassi was obviously, you know, most people would put him in the top 10 players of all time. He hated the game of tennis. It's quite a depressing autobiography in a way, up until the point he married Steffi Graf, which I guess would cheer would certainly cheer me up. So here's was he confident in his ability to play tennis? To a degree he was, but the thing he hated most was losing. He never seemed to quite experience the joys of winning and love of the game. He played it purely and simply because he hated the idea of losing, and it was the not losing that spurred him on. To a degree, you could say, well, he is successful because he was in the top 10 players ever. However, if you look at it from a did he have a great life, then you would probably say not a great deal of success going on there at all. So, so we're talking about winning assignments, but actually what it would be good is if we enjoyed it as well. Yeah. So, so the idea of going out and marketing and selling to some people is slightly abhorrent, and they force themselves to do it because they like the delivery. But wouldn't it be great if we could actually enjoy that part of the process as well? So do you think confidence is critical in performing well? Just if you didn't, well, even if you did get involved in the poll, what do you think? Is it a yes or is it a no? Confident is critical to performing well. Put it in the chat if you want to put it in the chat, or scream out if you want to scream out.
So I focus on helping people with their pricing. And I think if you pitch your pricing, if you tell your client what your price is and you don't do it confidently, you're less likely to win decent business. So I think confidence is pretty critical at that point.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, again, I think there's the various stages. I think right at the front end, there is that imposter syndrome. There is that, well, I don't think I could do that, or I don't have all of those skill sets. So maybe I won't bother applying in the first place. I think there's a risk certainly to confidence, that confidence can impact you there.
Right. Okay.
I think it's important, but not critical. I think you perform. I think if you are confident, you may well perform better, but you've got to be careful not to be overconfident. I would suggest, and bite off more than you can chew.
Right. Okay. The interesting word there is may, which is almost where I want to home in on. You know, and John, you mentioned that the first project I ever run, I didn't know how much to charge. And a friend of mine who worked for Pepsi Cola said to me, we don't look at people under 1,500 quid a day. And I thought, this is 25 years ago, I thought, oh my gosh, that's a lot. And when the client said, how much do you charge? I said, and I'm pretty sure I said it with no degree of confidence whatsoever, £1,500 a day. They didn't even look up. They went, okay, that's fine. That fits within budget. But I certainly didn't feel confident about it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right. So there's still a feeling that that confidence is the trick. Now, here's the thing. I don't know what you mean by confidence, and you don't know what I mean by confidence. And I think that's the challenge of a very blunt tool, which is our language, which may have thousands and thousands of words, but we limit our usage to a fairly small proportion of that. And when we use the same word, we assume we mean the same thing by it. So I've got three different ways of looking at that. One is confident, i.e., I know I'm going to be fine. I know this is going to work. I know this horse I've backed is going to win. Confide, which makes me sound clever. Apparently, that's the Latin from where confidence comes from, which means with trust. So I trust that I will give it my best shot, maybe. Or we could look at it from a sense of commitment. I have no idea whether I am what the outcome will be, but I am committed to taking the steps needed. So I'm not trying to change anybody's mind here. What I'm suggesting is that we look internally, look within, and say, was my answer, yes, it's critical, based on my own experience? So I was playing in a tennis match about 3 years ago, and I was playing against two people who are very good in a doubles match against two people who are very good, and they're about 20 years younger than I am, and my partner, and we were 6-2, 5-1, 40 love down, and all I was thinking was, please win this point and get this over with as quick as possible, because I'm not enjoying the battering I'm taking. And they won the point, in my view, they won the point. So I walked up to that and they went, no, the ball was out. So I went, oh, okay, that's a shame. 40-15 then, with please get this over with this time, and then I can go off court and have a beer. And we won the next point. And we won the next point. And then we won that game. And all I'm thinking is, oh God, why did we have to win that game? And I couldn't bring myself not to try, but I wasn't in any stage confident. And you know where the story's going. We won the match. At no point in that match, right up until the point we won it, did I think we were going to win it. I had zero confidence in our ability to beat the two players who were playing. Interesting. So now we could say that's just a one-off, but it isn't a one-off. The more I look at either meetings, be they sales meetings or presentations or giving webinars or delivering projects, the more I look at it, the more I don't see correlation between how I feel and how I perform. I remember Serena Williams talking about winning Wimbledon. She said, I felt awful. I hardly slept the night before and I had a mild flu. And I played brilliantly. Yeah. Most players, when they're standing on the first tee of the Ryder Cup, can hardly hold the club because they're shaking so much, but not many of them duff that first drive. Yeah. Which is interesting. So, oops, hang on a minute. I think we've got somebody's trying to get in if I can find them. Oh, damn this, damn. We go, oh, view. Oh, there's loads of them. Oh dear, admit all. Okay. So, where does that leave us? It leaves us with this diagram, which I might have, some of you might have seen before. There is stuff that I know what to do. I've got clarity and I've got commitment and I'm going out and taking action. And that's great. I'm usually getting good results. I'm seeing some evidence. At least I'm moving forward. It doesn't matter whether this is about winning work or whether it's about networking or whether it's about delivering a project. There are situations where I don't really know what to do, but I'm going to go out and take loads and loads of action. And at the end of the day, I'm really, really tired. And I'm tired because I've done a lot of stuff, but I've actually not progressed forward. And particularly maybe when we're between assignments, this is where we can run around like a blue ass fire doing loads and loads of stuff and not feeling as though we're getting anywhere. It's not delivering what we hoped it would deliver. I don't know what to do and I'm not doing anything. It's like I'm just sitting in my home office with my head in my hands, stuck, wondering how on earth to get unstuck. And then there's this bit, which is sort of more about today, which is I do know what to do, but I'm not doing it. So one of the guys yesterday, for example, said, I find it really hard to say no. So I said, can you say no? Could you say no, please? And of course he said no. And then he said, yeah, but I don't mean that, do I? Oh, well, I don't know. It's like I find it hard to give up smoking. Well, stop smoking. No, I don't. It's not that. What is it then that's holding me back? If I know what I need to do and I'm not doing it, if I need to go to that network event, if I need to make sure I meet everybody in that room, if I need to phone somebody up and follow up on an appointment or a proposal or whatever it is, what's stopping me doing it? What's stopping me doing it is some kind of story that I think is true, but I'm actually making up. Yeah, I'm making up how terrible it would be if this client said no, or I'm making it up how terrible it would be if it didn't go down very well. Yeah, or I'm making up how terrible it would be if I got criticized. But I'm telling some kind of story here which is stopping me doing the things I know I need to do. If this is the case, and in most cases I think it is, you do get still quite a lot of people who say, I don't know what to do, but they do really. Yeah. If I say, how do you go out and create interest in your target market? Well, that's the bit I don't know how to do. My view is you probably do. Yeah, it's a bit like these sessions. A lot of these sessions, at the end of them, you might say, yeah, I sort of knew that. And I would probably agree with you. You probably do. Maybe you didn't sit back and reflect, but you probably knew it. So what's stopping us getting involved there? So here's, you might have seen this before. Yeah. Okay, can you tell me what's going on there? Best do it by unmuting yourself rather than the chat, because it might be a very long chat if not. What do you think's going on?
Mine's making sense of it by making it the most familiar thing it understands.
Right, okay, so what can't the brain get its head around?
The inside out face.
Right, so our somehow our creative power is saying that can't be right, so I'll just make it right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's part of the kind of deleting and distorting and filtering process that goes on in your head
all the time, right?
all the time.
Yeah. So there is reality, and I'll probably not go down there, but if anybody ever wants to get very drunk and lie on their back on the lawn looking at the sky, then it's probably a good discussion to have. What is reality? But I'm not sure we're going to be able to answer that question as a human. We could just say reality is a load of dark matter, dark energy and matter that we create a story out of, but that would just be a theory. What we can say is that we do, as Paul said, we do distort, add, change, amend, delete things that don't fit with our view of how they should be. Yeah, and we're doing this all the time. And it's not wrong that we're, sorry, go on.
So I was just going to say, so is this just a case of perspective?
What do you mean by that, Daniel?
So when you're looking from one side of the mask, that's your kind of your view out, and when people are looking from the other side of the mask, the kind of the view in, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And it is there's two different takes of the same image almost. And it goes back to what Graham said about overconfidence. Sometimes you're perceived to be overconfident, but actually on the inside you may be lacking self-belief. Actually,
well, I do think that's true, that we have who we are, a human being, and I'll distill that down in my view to, we are a human being who creates their reality and experience it as the truth. That's what humans do. So we don't know what reality is, but we create our own. So every 7.5 billion people live in 7.5 billion different realities. Yeah, and by that
sounds like we're all mad.
Sorry?
Sounds like we're all mad.
Well, it depends what you think of madness. For me, madness means believing that what we think is real, is true.
Yeah.
And the further away we get from understanding that we are the creators of our reality, the more mad we are. Yeah. So mental health in my terms is, the more I believe that the reality I'm creating is the truth, the less mental health I have. Yeah. So if I believe that the world out there is causing me to feel the way I do, I am much more likely to suffer. The more I realize I'm the creator of my experience, the less likely I am to suffer. Yeah. The less likely it is to get in the way of me doing what I want to do and need to do, because I have a certain idea of how I want my life to be. So perspective is absolutely true, but you've got 7.5 people with 7.5 billion different perspectives, and some of them overlap and are look very similar. So I use it a lot, but if we all went to see a film, if we all go and see the James Bond movie, there may be one or two people who go, that was rubbish, that movie. I hate movies like that. And the rest of us might say, oh, it was fantastic. But the word fantastic is simply a common word we use. Our experience would have been very different. Very different or different. Yeah. Because we have different DNA and we have had different experiences to get us to this point, and therefore we see things differently. Yeah. But we use the same word. Now, in a way, I don't want to get into an intellectual discussion, because this isn't something the intellect can easily get its head around. What it does mean is I create my own reality and then I experience it as the truth. Yeah, it looks real to me. If it didn't look real to me, then I think I would go mad. Yeah. But it does look real. Now, I'm not saying that we should change our reality. I'm simply saying that we should be the creator. So if I look at, let's say I'm sitting here banging my hand with a hammer, and my hand starts to crack and split and bleed. And I get a consultant in and I say, look, my hand's really cracking and bleeding. And the consultant goes, oh, that's terrible. Yeah, that's terrible. I can fix that. I'll wrap a bandage around it so you won't feel the hammer so much. Yeah. And here I'm equating it to the tricks and techniques of selling and marketing. So I'm banging my hand with a hammer. The consultant wraps a bit of bandage around it. And after a while I go, oh, that's fantastic. That's so much better. But about a week later, the bandage starts to split and embed itself in the wound, and it's even worse than it was before. So I get the consultant back in and I go, oh, look at my hand, it's even worse than it was. And they go, oh yeah, we need to put some shock absorbing rubber there. And I go, well, that's better. That's much better. That doesn't hurt so much. What should you be telling me?
Stop hitting your hand with a hammer.
Isn't it? Isn't it? You're the one who's hitting your hand with a hammer. And I've got two options then. I go, oh yeah, you're right. What should I do? In which case I've intellectually understood what you've said, but I haven't had that insight that says, oh yeah. Or I go, oh my God, yes. Can't believe it. Why am I doing that? And I throw the hammer away, my hand heals up, and I carry on merrily for the rest of my life. So for me, this is probably the most critical insight we can ever have that will help us sell, market, and win assignments more easily. The tricks and techniques of selling, I'm not saying they won't help, but without this insight, they are merely bandages we wrap around a wound. So when I say, you know, it's like this morning, I woke up and I was going around and I thought, oh God, I've got to run a webinar this morning. What am I talking about? I don't know. Oh my God, will it be any interest to them? Or will they think I'm mad? Will they think, what's this got to do with selling and marketing and winning assignments? Will they just suddenly click will they just click off? Will they just sort of switch off and I'll be left on my own talking to the camera and recording it like a sad person with nobody who's got, that's entirely possible. And that lasted about 5 seconds or so and then disappeared. And then I was sitting having a coffee and my missus said, I said, oh, I better go and run this webinar. And she said, when are you running? I said, about 10 minutes. I better think of something to say. She said, oh, you seem very relaxed about it. I went, yeah, I guess so. And then I switched my machine on and then nobody turned up. And I had a fleeting moment of, is that it? Is it? So I'm going back to the confidence thing now. None of that mattered. None of it. I could give, I've got no concern whatsoever about the fact that I had a fleeting thought of, what if everybody switches this off and says, what a load of rubbish, and then goes on to Facebook and every other tool saying, avoid this guy like the plague because he's slightly bonkers. It didn't bother me in the slightest. Neither did it bother me that I thought, oh, great, I've got a really good subject that I want to talk about. It's going to be brilliant. That didn't bother me either because I have no idea. The only thing I can do is go, what do I think is important? And then talk about it. How people respond to that, I have no control over. I simply go, I think this is something important and I'll do it. End of story. The fleeting thoughts that come in of, but what if, are irrelevant. They're not mine. I don't know where thoughts come from, but I didn't want it and I can't stop it. So I'm just happy that it wanders in and then it wanders out. It's like somebody really irritating walking into your office, calling you a plonker and then walking out again. You would look up, probably grin, and then go back to work again. It would be irrelevant. Yeah. So I guess the ultimate then is saying, where are my feelings created? Are they created within me? I am the creator of my experience. Are they created by something outside of me, the people and situations and circumstances I find myself in, or is it a mix of the two? Any thoughts on that?
Yes. So, the medical research says that your feelings are created by your thoughts. Mm-hmm. And you might argue that your thoughts are created by external stimuli. So people, situations, things like that. So if you want to control your feelings, then you control your thoughts, and you just step back and reflect on, if you're feeling bad, step back and reflect on the stimulus that created that. You step back and think about the thought that created that feeling, and then think about whether the thought is rational or not. And you can challenge your own thinking then and get rid of the things that are making you feel bad.
Okay, Graham, good.
Sorry for that, but
that's... and my immediate reaction is, oh my God, that is so exhausting, time consuming, and probably ineffective.
No, it's very effective, actually.
In your perspective, it's very effective. Yeah. Let me just give you an idea. If I give my thoughts credence, I will feel the need to do something about them.
Yeah.
If I don't give my thoughts credence, I don't. I think of it as like, if there is pollution going into a river, I can, and I'm a mile downriver, I can start trying to clean the river, and I can put filters in, and I can filter the river so that downstream it's cleaner. Yeah, or the moment I stop, or the moment the river diverts around my filter, it's no good anymore. It's like a bandage, right? Mm-hmm. Or I go back to where the pollution begins, mm-hmm, and stop the pollution at source. Mm-hmm. So the way I think about it is, I can start trying to change the individual thoughts that pop into my head. I can't stop them popping into my head because they pop into our heads from wherever they pop in. Yeah, they pop in. Positive thinking says, I must keep my thoughts positive, but I can't because negative thoughts pop in. Yeah, I can then say, right, I'm going to take hold of that thought and I'm going to argue with that thought. And I'm going to clear up that thought once and for all. But it's that thought. The next negative thought comes along and I have to address that one, and the next and I address that one. Or I look at the source and go, and not through intellect, but through insight, I see that I am the one creating the experience, not the thing out there, because we've already talked about, we distort the thing out there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if I think that the circumstance is creating how I feel, and there is a connection between that, I'm likely to spend an awful lot of time trying to fix it. If you know, I know somebody who's been signed off from work for 6 months because he believes, and his doctor believes, and most of the people he speaks to believe, that the work is creating his stress. I think that's incredibly sad, because one, it isn't, but it's precluding him from going out and enjoying work. Yeah, because he needs to work on how to enjoy more work as opposed to enjoying work. I liken it to another guy I know who's well, he calls himself a drug addict, recovering alcoholic, whatever. But he won't have a drink because he sees himself as an alcoholic. And he sees himself as recovering as opposed to recovered. So he's never had a glass of wine, even though he would like one, because he's created a story that that will be the first of many. And yet there are people who stop instantly and then just have an odd glass of wine with dinner. So
Yeah, but Simon, on that example, I mean, he could be, that could be born of experience, and he could be right.
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. No, I'm not arguing that he's not right. I'm arguing that he's working downstream.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying we should change our reality. I'm simply questioning whether we believe our reality to be true. If we believe our reality to be true, it will absolutely, Keith, affect how we behave, and will leave us closed to a different perspective. Yeah, if we believe what we believe is the truth, it will be quite difficult for a new truth to pop in, or in your words, a new perspective. Yeah, I cannot, you know, and I'm as guilty as everybody. I can't hear a word coming out of Trump's mouth without saying that's nonsense. But if I didn't know it was him who said it, and it was Obama who'd said it, I might say, oh, that's a good point. Yeah. It's really hard for me to not filter and distort so that it fits with my view. It's almost like a blind spot I've got, except I know it's a blind spot. Yeah, and in that sense, can I listen to him with an open mind rather than this guy's an idiot and everything he says is rubbish? Because the trouble with that is I'm believing my reality to be the truth, but those fanatical supporters of his believe an opposite reality. They create a different reality. Who's right and who's wrong? I can't categorically say I'm right. I believe I am, but I can't say I am. But the more we believe our creations to be the truth, the less likely we are to be able to have insights to change them. The more we believe that we cannot sell, the more likely we are to experience the anxiety of selling. The more likely we believe we have to be confident in order to take action, the less likely we are to take action when we're not feeling confident. And yet, when I look inwards, I don't see a connection between confidence and performance. That was my insight. So I went, okay. So even if I don't feel confident, I still might perform well. And to your point, and even when I feel really confident, it doesn't mean I'm going to perform well. So the more I looked at it, the more I thought, well, that's not true then. It isn't true that I have to feel confident to perform well. well, maybe I need to be committed to perform well. Maybe that's a better way of me looking at it. Maybe I just need to be committed. Maybe I just need to think, you know what, I think this is important, so I'm going to do it. And I don't feel confident about it. I feel anxious about it. I feel uncomfortable about it. Oh, sod it, that's just thought. Trying to get in the way, trying to protect me. But
Can
actually,
sorry to interrupt, Sam. I just wanted to share something that my wife and I realise about each other. Her in particular, perhaps more than me. She's extremely successful at her job, but she does it by adopting a character. She as she gets dressed in the morning, she becomes. She's a head teacher at a big school, and the head teacher is a different person at work and very successful to the one that I live with all day. And there is that transition process. And so the confidence that she displays at work and in the performance is it's separated from her normal consciousness. It's the part of the head teacher, the role that she plays extremely well, and then she has to leave it behind because I couldn't live with that. But it's a thing that we can learn to be confident, as perhaps it's easier if we almost pretend to be a different person. We take on a different persona to do that.
So can I give you two aspects on two sides to that? One is that sometimes we look at people like that, and we look at people like, I don't know, Branson or what's his name, Tyson Fury or whatever, you know, who may be an example of the opposite. That we look at people and we go, oh my God, the reason they're successful is because they're so confident. I bet they never have any doubts or anxieties. And I'm not like them. I've got loads of doubts and anxieties, so I could never be like them. Which is really getting in the way, because those people are human beings. This is why this topic yesterday was being a human. Those people are human, and they have anxious thoughts, and whatever we want to label it as, imposter syndrome, which psychologists love labeling, right? So we label it that, we grab hold of the label and we go, yes, I suffer from that, and I buy into that, and my belief is that I suffer from it, and therefore it's really hard for me to change. So on that, from that perspective, we look at people and we go, they don't suffer anxious thoughts. I do. Therefore, the reason that's why they're successful is because they're confident. Wrong, my view. The reason why they're successful, in my view, is that they have all those thoughts and experiences and feelings that everybody else has, and they don't take them as seriously. But I think it was Bjorn Borg who was interviewed. And the interviewer said, you know, I think one of the reasons you're so successful is because you're always calm and confident and never get ruffled. And Borg looked at him and went, that's not true. And the interviewer said, no, idiot. You know, you never get ruffled. And Borg said, oh, no, that's not true. He said, well, what do you mean? He said, oh, I have all sorts of thoughts going through my head when I'm playing tennis. And can I do this? And what if I lose this? And if I lose, my ranking will go down. And what's going to happen if my ranking goes down? And will I lose the top spot? And I've always been number one. And And the interviewer was a bit flummoxed, because the interviewer's story about Bjorn Borg was completely undermined. So he said, well, how come you never lose it then? And Borg's, I think his comment was, I don't get involved in the drama. Wow, that's amazing. I have all that stuff, but I don't get involved in it. I don't believe it to be true. It's just something that goes on in my head. Carly Simon said, I understand it to be said to Bon Jovi, I don't perform live anymore because I'm always sick with anxiety before I perform. And Bon Jovi said, what do you mean? She said, oh, I'm physically sick. I get so anxious, I'm physically sick. Bon Jovi looked at her and said, oh, I'm sick before I go on stage. Identical situation, identical circumstance, identical, you know what I mean? Similar situations, similar circumstances, similar feelings. One took them seriously, one didn't. One didn't go on stage and perform, one did. It's not about, and Carly Simon is awesome, in my view, on stage. An amazing performer. But what a shame that she was getting in the way by believing those anxious thoughts to be telling her something. They were just thoughts. They weren't important. They weren't telling her anything, which is why, Graham, I say I wouldn't argue with that thought. I'd just go, like Bon Jovi, oh, I'm sick before I go on stage. I'd prefer not to be sick before I go on stage, but actually it's just one of those things.
I mean, I think we're pretty much saying the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, that you create your own reality, and your own reality is created from your thoughts, and you can decide whether or not to think things, or whether to believe certain thoughts or not.
You can pursue them or not. Absolutely. So the thought creates the feeling. I think the thought and the feeling come together. It's like it's difficult to separate them, because an experience is both a thought and a feeling. It's like two sides of the same coin. That's that creates the experience. If it were a thought, it wouldn't be an experience. Even tiny. It sort of comes with either a slightly neutral feeling or an excited feeling, and it fluctuates. So I could see somebody and think, "Oh, brilliant! John's on the call today. Brilliant. Good to see you, John." Or I could, if I'm in a grumpy mood, I might go, "Oh, bloody hell, John's on the call today." Yeah, there's no difference. But for the experience I wrap around it. Yeah. So I've gone on far too long, but actually it was a discussion. So it's 45 minutes. That seems to have gone remarkably quickly. I guess my only point is my view, and you might be open to it, is that confidence isn't critical to great performance. I'm not saying you should change your view to the one I have. I'm saying entertain the fact that it might be true.
I like the word committed, just because I'm trying to simplify this. My pricing example, actually, I very well might not be confident in a price I tell a client, but if I commit to it, I don't put a question mark at the end of it.
Absolutely.
What's your rate? 1,500 a day? Doesn't sound confident, but actually the thoughts behind it can be the same. I can still be nervous about saying, but if I commit, the number I'm going to give you is 1,500.
Yes, absolutely. So maybe there is something around commitment, and we could, as Damien was saying, we have a story about ourselves, and we have the image we portray. The image we portray may not reflect the story we've got internally. It would be great if we have an insight into confidence that they do become congruent, because life becomes a bit easier then. But we might be portraying an image to get something done. Yeah. Good. Oh, that was a quote I read a couple of days ago, and it really resonated with me. If the whites and the white pieces are the thoughts that I want to have, black are the thoughts I don't want to have, or vice versa. It doesn't matter without me. Or we could say we are not, those thoughts don't matter. We are the chessboard. I thought that was very deep and meaningful. And the thoughts play away on the chessboard, and that's fine. That's the point. How could you have a game of chess without black and white pieces? You would have to have them, otherwise it isn't a game of chess. Yeah. So we're the board, and all these things happen on us. We're not the pieces, but it's easy for us to identify with the pieces. It's easy for us to identify with those thoughts. Why don't we identify with being the creator rather than the created? Okay, good. Excellent. Slightly off piece today, but I hope it was good fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. See what happens over the next few days, and see if any of it resonates with you later on. And I think, Graham, we've got a strategy session booked on Friday, haven't we? So So if you did want to find out more about the accelerator program, it's there. If you want to do book a strategy session, it's over here on the right hand side. In which case, I trust you will enjoy the rest of your weeks.
Yep.
I'm going to hang around a minute if anybody wants to, but if not, then great to see you all, and I'll be here again next Wednesday.
Hey, thanks, Simon. That was a good discussion as well. So I
I
think
enjoyed it.
enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks,
very
Simon.
much.
What I will do one time is ask people a survey about, are there too many surveys on LinkedIn?
There are. Do you know, I almost, back to that thought, I wasn't going to put it up because I thought, oh, people will think there's another dickhead putting a survey up there. And then I thought, you know what? I actually do want to know what the answer is.
Good.
So
They're
I'll
the
do
right
it.
ones. Yeah.
And if people think I'm a dickhead for putting it up there, that's fine. It doesn't really bother me that much.
No, good stuff. All right.
Excellent.
Thanks. See you next
Simon.
week.
Cheers.
All right.
Good
Thanks,
to
Simon.
see you. Bye. There we go. Good. And I'll see you Friday, Graham.
Well, just quickly,
Yeah.
is the recording from last week where the conversation seemed to centre around generalist versus specialist available somewhere?
Oops, have I just disappeared? I'm trying to stop the recording, but never mind. Yes, I'll get it. I'll get you one.
Okay, it's not on the. It's not in the premium content section of your.
I haven't put them in there. I don't know whether I should do or
Okay.
not. Because I tend to put the whole lot there, and whilst I say I'm going to record it, I tend to say to people I'm going to record it so I can send it to you and those who registered and didn't come, rather than make it publicly available. But
Right.
but it might be something I might do in future. Actually, if I just say I'm going to record it and I'm going to put it in premium
Yeah.
content, so. It's a good idea, good point. Actually, I ought to. It would be easier, and then I can just point people to that rather than sending them an email with
Yeah.
the attachment. So, good point. I'll make sure you get it though before we speak Friday.
Okay. All right. Thank you
Good
very much.
stuff.
All right.
Great to
See
see
you
you.
Friday. Cheers
Cheers.
then. Bye.
Bye.